All right, the first draft, we are up and running again. This is a 12-team Roto, standard 5x5 categories. You know the deal. It's batting average, runs, home runs, RBI, and steals. On the pitching side, we have ERA, whip, strikeout, wins, and saves. And it's not a great sign that our first pick is taking 45 seconds. So let's keep this thing moving. We've got a lot of drafts to get to today. Vlad, you are on the clock with pick number 2, and you're a Dodgers fan, so this is perfect.
It works out either way. I feel like you can't lose at pick 2. You get Judge or you get Ohtani and be a happy person.
All right. So again, Judge and Ohtani, first 2 picks. I am picking third. I did randomize this, so I'm not cheating my way to the third pick. Whatever you want to think is happening here. I will go ahead and take Bobby Witt Jr., cover all the bases there, batting average, home runs, steals, and lock up my shortstop.
Vlad, you're sitting at second. 1, would you rather pick second than first? And 2, would you take Ohtani over Judge if you had that choice?
So a slight preference by the very slightest amount and nothing to do with fandom for Ohtani.
Mm-hmm.
And just a preference there. And, I would be happy with 2 because I do like playing a little bit of draft chicken with the person that is at the end, almost trying to figure out who they're going to take. So you can, take the, kind of push that guy another 2 picks.
All right, catching people up on picks here. After I took Bobby Witt, we got Jose Ramirez, Ronald Acuna, and then at number 6, Chris, you selected Juan Soto. It kind of feels like it started out as a consensus top 5, and it has kind of evolved into a consensus top 6 now that includes Ronald Acuna, and I'm sure you were hoping to get him at 6.
I'm the rare person who has Ronald Acuna ahead of Juan Soto. I know that kind of makes me an outlier, but it's just continuing. I don't know if you guys have been watching the World Baseball Classic. He had 2 more steals in the opening round of 4 games. I believe that gives him, let me do the math in my head, 16 stolen bases in 24 games dating back to the start of the Venezuelan Winter League. Obviously, look, this is varying levels of competition, but we've said it all spring. If Ronald Acuna wasn't going to run, he wouldn't be running in the World Baseball Classic and spring training and the Venezuelan Winter League. I think we're going to see a big return to 30-plus steals for Ronald Acuna at least.
All right, after Juan Soto, Corbin Carroll at 7, and then Kyle Tucker at 8. So we have got some encouraging news here on Corbin Carroll, who made his spring debut yesterday on Wednesday, coming back from the hamate bone injury here. Scott is on the clock. We'll get to that in a second. But Vlad, how do you feel about Corbin Carroll coming back from this hamate bone injury? Good news that he's back. We still have to make sure he's right and the power is there. But do you think he deserves to climb back into the first round now that he's back in spring training?
Yeah, this is where he's going to be going now that he's back and so soon and so long there are no issues. And I don't think he's going to be smashing home runs. So obviously, that will bring him right back into the first round immediately. But he fell to 15, 20, somewhere around there. So you'll probably see him pop back up somewhere around 8 to 12 over the next week.
All right, Scott, you are up at pick number 10. What do we have?
Yeah, I'm going to take Tarek Skubal. I'm going to take the first pitcher. I don't mind taking any of the big 3 pitchers in a Roto League this year because I think the advantage they present, more so than first round or even second round pitchers in years past, the advantage they present is so significant. And because the person at 12 then, okay, so right after I took Tarek Skubal, Julio Rodriguez, Fernando Tatis Jr., Caminero, real quick.
You got the chance.
Caminero. Yeah, this is going to be another one of those drafts where I double up at pitcher.
Pocket aces.
Yeah.
All right.
So it doesn't happen often. It doesn't happen often that the person who takes one of the big 3 in round 1 then has another opportunity in round 2. But I've tried it before, and I don't mind the way it turns out. You obviously can take it easy at pitcher after this point. You have such an advantage in ERA, whip, and strikeouts, all the pitching categories really, that you don't have to hit that position so hard in the middle. You don't have to get the duplicates that you normally have to take by investing in risky or less certain pitchers. So it's overall, I would say the strategy is riskier because obviously pitchers are inherently risky. So if you're beginning your draft with two of them, if either one of them falters, well, it's going to be hard to make up for that. But the optimal build for this is still going to be pretty good because of just how much you're able to ignore pitching moving forward.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, A, how your offense turns out, and B, when do you take your SP3? At what point in the draft? After Scott selected Paul Skeens, we got Gunnar Henderson, Jazz Chisholm, Cal Raleigh, and Chris, you selected Jackson Churio to go along with Juan Soto.
Yeah, getting a nice power, speed, batting average balance with him and Juan Soto to start my draft is pretty good. I did consider, obviously, if Cal Raleigh had been there, that would have been a decision to make, but he went one pick before me. I've talked a lot about just while I think Kyle Schwarber's ranking is fine, I'm a little hesitant to actually make the pick to lock up my util spot. Especially, I mean, in this draft, obviously we're not drafting bench spots. In a real league, we would. That does complicate things because you have a little more flexibility to pick util-only players for your bench, or, you know, if you've already picked your shortstop and your middle infielder and, I don't know, Trevor Story falls to like 130 or something. It does make it difficult to get through your draft without that utility spot open. But I did consider Schwarber and obviously Raleigh and even Kurtz there, but I went with Jackson Churio.
After Vlad Jr., we got Trey Turner. I selected Kyle Schwarber to go along with Bobby Witt Jr. because I already had that speed. I have that base, so and
batting average as well.
So happy to pair a big power bat with him. And Vlad, you selected Pete Alonso ahead of Nick Kurtz. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, just somebody that I trust a lot more. I think the Baltimore Orioles offense is going to be a cheat code. I think they're going to be, like the fourth team in history to hit 300 plus bombs collectively. And Pete's going to be a big part of that. And, just love him part of that lineup. In my valuations, I have him just a little bit ahead. And listen, Nick Kurtz is great. The rookie season was phenomenal, but still some concerns with the strikeout rate, again, hitting against lefties. So I'll take the more, solidified for me value in Alonso.
So a big part of this is you're bullish on the Orioles lineup. Okay. I mean, there's a lot of upside there. It's just a take I haven't heard before, so it's interesting.
I will say it's the struggles, it's the lefty stuff that really worries me about Nick Kurtz because, look, he should improve, right? He's young. Apparently today is his 23rd birthday. Congratulations to Nick Kurtz as we talk down on him. That's what we got you for your birthday. But he had a 423 expected WOBA with a 94.5 mile per hour average exit velocity against righties. That's really good. Against lefties, 261 x WOBA, 88.6 mile per hour average exit velocity, 37% whiff rate. He was really pretty bad against lefties last season in a way that, look, he's not going to lose playing time, but if you're wondering how Nick Kurtz could be a disappointment, that would seem to be one avenue for it.
That said, I think Frank's still thrilled to take him at 27, third round pick. I think this is the first draft I've seen where Nick Kurtz has gone in round 3. I
got him 25th in TGFBI. Obviously, that's a 15-team league, so it wasn't round 3, but that's one where it's like, I don't like him as the 18th pick, but 25, 27, if it happens, I love that. Yeah, like that's easier to stomach.
Yeah, so at the turn, there was Ketel Marte, and then into round 3, Yordan Alvarez, Francisco Lindor went to Vlad. I selected Nick Kurtz, then Manny Machado, Pete Crow Armstrong. Chris, you were on the clock. I will just quickly talk about this pick. Like, I have Nick Kurtz as a bust, but at pick 27, it does make for a weird build. I've got 2 big power bats with Kurtz and Schwarber. Some of that batting average insulated in there with Bobby Witt, but I think it's something I'm going to have to go back to paying attention to is that batting average. But lots of power, good speed there with Witt. We'll see how it turns out. It's kind of a weird build. Chris, you went with Zach Neto, but it sounds like maybe you were not loving the pick.
No. What I was really struggling with was my top player was James Wood. And that would have given me 3 outfielders in my first 3 picks and a player I'm pretty scared of. I did add him to my Bust 2.0 column. He was the lead of that. And it just, you do not see really, really good players struggle the way James Wood did in the second half of last season very often. And now he's super young. He's still more tools than skills, and there's room for rapid improvement if those skills catch up to the tools. But man, a 40% strikeout rate in 40% of the season is really tough. And it's actually, he had a sub 700 OPS after the All-Star break, and that was buoyed by, I think, 5 homers in his last 6 or 7 games or something. He was absolutely useless for almost the entirety of July, August, and September last season.
You're just mad you couldn't get Yordan Alvarez, let's be honest.
I would have been cool with Yordan Alvarez there, obviously. I don't know, man. It's one of those things where the ADP says one thing and the actual drafts I'm in, maybe it's because everybody who I'm drafting with generally knows how much I like Yordan Alvarez, but I don't think I've actually taken him in a while. So seems like everybody's pushing him back into the
I mean, the fact he went ahead of Nick Kurtz. The fact he went ahead of Nick Kurtz is definitely.
I think he's a better hitter than Nick Kurtz. It's just a question of, can he stay healthy?
Yeah.
Yep. After Chris selected Zach Neto, we did get Yamamoto, Rafael Devers, and James Wood. And Scott, you are back up with
I know what Scott's going to do.
Oh, you do?
No.
Because I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a hitter. I'll tell you that much. And the hitter I'm going to take is actually Bryce Terang.
Yeah, it's Bryce Terang. Okay, that's what I thought you were going to do.
That's what you thought. Okay, it's early for Bryce Terang. When I take him in round 4 usually feels a little early, and here I am taking him in round 3. But my top 3 hitters otherwise were all first basemen. Mm-hmm. There's only 2 people behind me, and I believe one of them has a first baseman already, Vladimir Guerrero. So I'm going to get one of Matt Olson, Bryce Harper, Freddie Freeman, and that.
I don't think Vlad is on one of those teams. They don't have first baseman, but it's still unlikely they will take 3 first basemen and 4 picks. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, he was the 2B1. It was an incredible year in Roto last year. He was the top second baseman. Jazz Chisholm hadn't yet got that second base eligibility. So very impressive season.
And what I like about Bryce Terang, for those who haven't been following along the whole preseason, I mean, he had a huge increase in his exit velocities last year, like 3 miles per hour. Rarely do you see that big of a jump from one season to the next. It took him from lower half of the league in terms of contact quality to upper half of the league, the kind of contact quality that could make him a power hitter if he's able to elevate the ball enough, which he didn't for most of the year. August he did hit 11 home runs just that month. So he showed he is capable of making that adjustment to tap into more power. And, a couple of years ago, Bryce Terang was a 50 steal guy too. So there is a best of both worlds outcomes here where he is like a 20 homer, 40 steal second baseman. And then, you could talk about him as early as round 2, I think, if that's what he actually is.
Scott, do you know where Bryce Terang ranked in your favorite stat, pulled air rate, last year?
Pretty low. Apart from August, yeah.
Out of 250 qualifiers, he was 5th lowest.
That is the problem. That is the problem. But he showed in August that he's capable of making that adjustment. So I'm hoping it becomes a more permanent one.
I also think he's having like a nice spring in World Baseball Classic. He's had some big moments, certainly.
Yeah. And I think the downside is probably he's a 14 homer, 40 steal guy with a good batting average at the weakest position, or at least the position with the fewest studs. So
he might just be Luke Keeschel.
He might be. He's one of the players I think that you can justify reaching for a little bit because there is a scarcity of that kind of player.
After Scott selected Bryce Terang, we did get Mookie Betts and Wyatt Langford to finish out round 3. Into round 4, we got Brian, Logan Gilbert, Matt Olson went to Scott, Bryce Harper, and Brent Rooker is next up here.
Yeah, so none of the 3 first basemen went with the 2 people following me, so I got my favorite of the 3, Matt Olson.
Yep. Mookie Betts at 35. Vlad, how you feeling about Mookie Betts this year? Because he had the illness to start last season, but then he finished really strong. Also had a bad postseason, so it's like there's a lot of give and take there. What are you expecting from Mookie Betts?
Yeah, I mean, the beginning of his season basically just wrecked him for the whole year with the illness and losing all that weight. I think he still has another couple of good seasons in him. Expected to hit third behind Ohtani and Tucker and in front of Freeman. The thing is, in a lot of early drafts, he had been going in the 60s. I was in a 12 teamer not long ago where he went 70 something. That is just an absolute steal. So I love Mookie. I probably, if I can get him in the 40s, 50s, that's fine. But and it gets past there, it's just an absolute gift.
All right, we're starting to get some of the pitchers off the board here as well. Chris Sale went, then Freddie Freeman to Christopher Sanchez, and then Roman Anthony at pick 45. I will, debating some pitchers.
And I think this is the point where you should start to see that pitcher run. We get a round 2, round 3 break for the most part. I know Yamamoto went in round 3. I'm not sure he needs to go that far ahead of the others. But round 4, round 5 is where pitching tends to pick up again.
Yeah,
appropriately.
My issue with like Yamamoto has been not that I think he's a bad pick for the number 4 pitcher. I think he's a perfectly defensible pick for the number 4 pitcher. It's just that he's kind of going ahead of the rest of the candidates. And that's right. Where it's like, he was the number 7 pitcher last year. I think he's awesome. I think last year is close-ish to a best-case scenario just because you're never going to get the huge innings totals for Yamamoto, so he's got to be really efficient, really able to overcome that low inning total. And again, if he's the number 4 pitcher but he goes 37th, I think that's great.
Yeah.
It's just when he tends to go like 24th, 25th is when it's like, I can't really get on board.
He is part of a very large second tier. There's the tiny first tier of the top 3 guys, Tarek Skubal, Garrett Crochet, Paul Skeens, that I think are head and shoulders above that next tier.
Yes.
But Yamamoto's part of a group. Any one of 10 pitchers could finish as the number 4 guy behind those 3. And he is just one of them. He could be the 4th off the board, but it doesn't need to be a whole round ahead of the next guy.
All right, after Roman Anthony, I selected Hunter Brown. Cole Reagans went to Vlad. Then we got a Yankee turn, Max Fried and Ben Rice. And Vlad, you are the first to select a closer, Mason Miller here at pick 50.
Yeah, let's see if we can get a run going. I think just getting the elite ratios and, I mean, he just stay healthy, man. He's just so good. And the starting pitchers here for me that are available, I feel like are very similar to the ones in the next tier. So I am waiting I think it's okay for me to wait a little bit and go pitcher shopping a little bit later.
So Cole Reagans as your SP1. Look, there's no doubt about the talent. I know the surface level numbers last year weren't great, but all the underlying stuff, the strikeouts, the K- walk, it's all amazing. Does it make you queasy at all having him as your SP1 here, just given the injury history?
Absolutely. Yeah, he's been through so much over the years and just hoping you finally get you've had one almost full season of health, but when he's on, he is one of the best pitchers in baseball. Obviously, just incredible lefty, one of the highest swinging strike rates in baseball over the last couple of seasons. And yeah, just hope he stays healthy. I am not too worried about the ballpark dimensions, the walls moving in and being lowered. Sure, he might give up a few extra home runs, but I'm still looking at a guy that's going to probably give you a sub 3.5 ERA and be in the 200s and strikeouts with 30 plus starts.
And I do want to point out that this is one where if you only look at the major league inning totals, Cole Reagans looks a little worse because over the last 4 seasons, he's only reached 100 innings once in the majors. But in 2023, he was used a lot as a reliever. But I think it was 124 total innings in 2023 because he was used as a starter in the minors. And then 2022, he threw 134 innings. I think that was his first full season back from Tommy John surgery. So since the Tommy John surgery, he has thrown 120 innings 3 out of 4 seasons. Obviously, that's not a great total. But one of them was 180 something, and he's really only had one arm issue since the Tommy John surgery. It's just, it was last year, and it was a grade 2 labrum tear. So it's like, there's definitely risk there, but Reagans, if I wait on starting pitchers, he's probably my favorite among the SP1 candidates, just because if you just equalized every innings, I think he's clearly the fourth best pitcher in baseball, and I think he's probably closer to that Skeen, Skubal, Crochet group than the rest of them are to him. It just like he had a 30% K minus walk ratio last year. That is insane.
And he had 180 innings roughly 2 years ago, so we know he can do it. It's obviously he was hurt some last year, but he's not one of these that is perpetually hurt and just unable to take on that kind of ace workload.
All right, after Vlad selected Mason Miller, I took Jacob deGrom to pair with Hunter Brown. So those are my top 2 starting pitchers there. Cody Bellinger, Austin Riley, William Contreras went to Chris, then Edwin Diaz, Geraldo Perdomo, 2 picks ahead of Scott. Sorry, Scott. I don't know if you wanted him or not.
I did.
Logan Webb, and then Josh Naylor. So you got yourself Thicky Henderson this upcoming season.
I did, to pair with Matt Olson. So I got 2 starting pitchers already. I got 2 first basemen already. In Roto leagues, that corner infield spot can be really difficult to fill. There are some low end or late round upside plays that I like, but everybody likes them. So they tend to get they tend to be picked aggressively and not always at face value. And so it's easy to get left out at corner infield, mostly because third base is so weak. So not many of those guys are worth starting at that position. So I don't mind doubling up on corner infield this early. Obviously, Josh Naylor, if he continues as a base stealer, that's going to be a nice advantage to have at that position. I think he's a great hitter. He's proven that many times over. Good source of batting average. So I think just in terms of meeting hitting categories, which I'm still having to make up ground in because I started with 2 pitchers, I think he made sense for me. And now I'm up again. So we had, I don't know if you want to read off the picks before I make mine, Frank.
Yeah, we got Jackson Merrill, Yohan Duran at the turn, and now into round 6, George Kirby and Freddie Peralta.
So some more pitchers going off the board. That doesn't really help narrow it down for me. Obviously not taking any of those. I think I'm going to take C.J. Abrams here.
It's pretty late for him, 63rd overall.
Yeah, it's the first time I've taken him. I'm not his biggest fan, but he obviously gives you a little bit of a power-speed combo here. Probably going to hurt in batting average, but
not
it is
too much. He's not like disastrous.
250-ish.
250-ish. Yeah, you can survive a 250 batting average.
Yeah, you can survive it. Yeah, I'm not excited about the pick, but I do think it's the right time to take him. And
come on!
I was hoping to be the one to break Frank's heart.
No, Michael Garcia just went.
Not your Cal Garcia.
No, it won't be mine. After Scott selected C.J. Abrams, Hunter Goodman, Andres Munoz, and Michael Garcia. Part of the problem here, I'm at a disadvantage. People that are watching the draft see my draft room with my rankings up and see that Michael Garcia is the top-ranked hitter. So I'm at a disadvantage. Chris, you're up.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a reach, but the starting pitcher group has thinned out. I was going to take Michael Garcia here. He's not there. I'm going to take a guy who I think the argument's very similar to a lot of what we said about... Oh, excuse me. I accidentally hit the draft button twice, and I have commissioner access.
Oh, so
live television.
Yeah, we backed up that pick. Nick Fox, you are still on the clock.
Yeah, I picked Kyle Bradish, and a lot of what we said about Cole Reagans applies here because there is some concern about the workload. I think the ceiling is probably like 160 innings, maybe 165, 170, something like that. But the floor should be pretty high because we saw that 2023 season when he wasn't a great strikeout pitcher. He finished 4th or 5th in the AL in Cy Young. He had a sub-3 ERA. He should win a bunch of games. But then 2024, he comes out and all of a sudden he's just this elite strikeout pitcher. He has Tommy John surgery, comes back in 2025, just as elite as a strikeout pitcher. He has been like a 33, 34% strikeout rate guy over the past 2 seasons. It's only 71 innings. There's some skepticism there, but I think the skills are legit. I think he has 2 legit swing and miss pitches. His 4-seamers are pretty good swing and miss pitch. I think Kyle Bradish has a very good chance to pitch like an ace. It's just a question of, is it 140 innings? Probably a lot more than that, but that might be the outcome. So you do have to be a little worried about that. But man, I think Frank, I think you've made the comp, or maybe Scott, that it feels a lot like Tarek Skubal coming out of the 2022 season, 2023 season.
23, yeah.
When he had that like 80 innings where it was like, oh, he's clearly the best pitcher in baseball, but the sample size is small enough that we can't say for sure. It turns out, yes, this is actually just who Tarek Skubal is now. Yeah, I think there's some of that potential with Kyle Bradish.
After you selected Kyle Bradish, we got Cade Smith, Corey Seager. I selected Shea Langoliers, so let's go A's. Vlad selected Jesus Luzardo, and then David Bednar. So, Vlad, I mean, your pick of Mason Miller, hoping that closers would go, it actually turned out pretty well. We got like 5 or 6 closers drafted after you selected Mason Miller.
Yeah, it starts to get pretty nasty. Before you know it, you're looking at your RP1 being Clayton Beater if you're not careful. So. It's glad that happened. And it's great to watch you having the controls. So as I sit there sweating, like, don't click on my guy, don't go to that position. And you didn't. So I was able to get Luzardo.
Yep. Happy to help you out there. You know what? Bo Bichette goes at the turn, and it's just every draft I forget he's going to gain third base eligibility. And it's like, you just got to remind yourself over and over again that, yes, he is going to be a third baseman this season. So after you selected Jesus Luzardo, David Bednar, Bo Bichette, you also took Byron Buxton here. So last 3 picks, Vlad, you've got, or I guess 3 of your last 4, Cole Reagans, Jesus Luzardo, Byron Buxton, leaning a little bit into the injury risk, but obviously very talented players.
Yes, that's how I roll. I don't want to finish middle of the pack. Give me first or last if it so is. For sure. A little bit, definitely a little bit dicey. Hopefully I can grab some solid picks along the way and balance it out.
All right, I selected Seiya Suzuki, and so my updated team, I have Shea Langoliers, Nick Kurtz, Bobby Witt, Seiya Suzuki, and Kyle Schwarber. The pitchers, Hunter Brown and Jacob deGrom. Gonna have to tackle steals again eventually. Probably should do that sooner rather than later, but lots of power so far to go on that team. After Seiya Suzuki, Framber Valdez, and Jarren Duran, and Chris, you are back up. I believe of your 6 picks, you have 5 hitters and 1 starter.
5 hitters and Kyle Bradish, so I am considering a pitcher, but I think I'm gonna pass because my team could probably use a little pop. I think Juan Soto is the only guy I definitely think will get to 30-plus homers, so I'm going to go with a guy I don't love this season at his price, but Riley Green will definitely hit for some pop. I don't know if we're going to get another 36 or 37 homer season, whatever he had last year, but I think he's a pretty good bet for 30-plus.
All right, after Riley Green, Vinny P!
Baby!
More like Vinny 3, baby. How about those 3 home runs for Team Italy against Mexico?
Did you see the interview with him after the game?
Yeah, that was great.
They were like, when was the last time you had a 3-homer game? Never. And they were like, not in high school, not in the minors? Never. Not in Little League? Never. He literally never hit a 3-homer game.
Yeah.
He needs to be powered by espresso. They got to get an espresso machine in the dugout in Kansas City.
I was going to say it's definitely not his first ever 3 espresso day.
I'm a little worried about how he's going to be feeling today.
Dude,
what time do you think Vinny P got to sleep? Yeah.
Yeah, there's no way he slept last night. 3 espresso shots in a 3-hour game
in the evening.
Yeah, that's a rough one. After Vinny P, Christian Yelich, Aroldis Chapman, Scott, you are back up.
Yeah, I'm taking Eugenio Suarez here. I feel like power. Well, obviously, third base is scarce, first of all. It's the end of a tier. I think it's a very thin tier that follows. In fact, it's a non-existent tier for me in Roto, with Alex Bregman, I think, being a tier lower in this format than head-to-head points. So, right time to jump in and grab a third baseman. But even more than that is power is where I think I'm most lacking from not taking a hitter in the first 2 rounds. I'm doing well with speed between Terang and Abrams and even Josh Naylor, but I need to make up ground in power. Suarez obviously nearly hit 50 homers last year and doesn't seem to be getting enough appreciation for it. He hit nearly 50 homers last year and went from one of the worst hitters parks to one of the best in the offseason. And I'm thrilled to take him here.
All right, after you selected Eugenio Suarez, George Springer, Tyler Soderstrom, Drake Baldwin, and Michael Busch. So a bunch of hitters going here. Last 5 picks have all been hitters. And Scott, we are back to you in round 8.
Back to me. Back to your boy. I don't have an outfielder yet, if you can believe it. Randy Reyna, come
I
on
believe
down.
it.
Come on down.
All right. Any concern about the batting average so far for this team, Scott?
Some.
Yeah.
Some. Terang's a good source of batting average. Naylor should be a good source of batting average. Olsen sometimes is a good source of batting average. He was last year.
Yeah.
But I'll have to make that a priority moving forward. It's not a category where it's easy to make up ground, but it's not impossible either. So I'll be keeping an eye on that.
All right. After Scott selected Randy Arozarena, we got Devin Williams, Joe Ryan, O'Neal Cruz, and Chris, you are back up.
Yeah, I took I like to say that there's too much talk of injury risk, especially when it comes to pitcher, and not enough talk of other kinds of risk. And I'm going to highlight that with my 2 first pitchers picked. I've got the guy who maybe can't stay healthy in Kyle Bradish, and the guy who never gets hurt, but maybe can't pitch well in Dylan Cease. But look, I think he's the only pitcher with 215 strikeouts in the last 3 seasons. I think he's done it 4 or 5 straight years. So I know I'm going to get that from Dylan Cease, and I think the ERA and WHIP should be significantly better than they were last year. The peripherals were much better than last year. I know that Dylan Cease has been inconsistent over the years, but usually when the ERA is bad, the peripherals have been bad. Last year was the one outlier where the ERA was terrible. The peripherals were actually very good still. So I'm inclined to believe we're going to get a good Dylan Cease year this year. But again, injuries aren't the only type of risk as Dylan Cease personifies.
After Dylan Cease, Agustin Ramirez, Yuri Perez, I selected Nico Horner. I'm not sure that anybody has ever uttered these words, but I was praying that I got Nico Horner because he fits this team perfectly. I needed batting average, I needed speed, and that just fits like a glove onto the team. So happy to get him. I didn't have a second baseman yet. And then, Vlad, you were up next with Michael Harris. Man, Michael Harris, he's a tough one because he's so talented, but we get these stretches where he's unusable for fantasy at times just because his plate discipline is so bad.
Yeah, it really is. Just has a problem with his plate patience, and it takes too many or doesn't take enough walks really. And a lot of people drafted him very early last year, and he unfortunately disappointed heavily. After the All-Star break, he was an absolute beast. He raised his ISO, was stealing bases, and hitting for power. And he's having a pretty good spring. So I would love to just see a full season out of him. The concern with him always is he's going to hit in the bottom third of the lineup, which is always an issue. But this year in Atlanta, I think that's a good thing. I think they're going to be turning the lineup many times over. Also, another big cheat code for me, at least, is draft as many Braves hitters as I can.
That's music to Scott's ears right there. You love to see that. Scott, you're muted, by the way, if you're trying to talk.
I said your mouth to God's ears. Yeah, that's I am less hopeful. I don't love the downgrade from Ozuna to Yastrzemski, and now their starting shortstop is hurt. And of course, they lost Jurickson Profar. So it's already been a bad start for the state of their lineup, but they do have a lot of big bats too. I just hope the bottom end guys, the Mauricio Dubons of the world, can keep that lineup turning over. The Eli Whites of the world, he might be a starter, you know.
All right, I am up here with a decision to make, and taking a look, trying to figure out what do I do. Nice turn there, Chase Burns and Nick Lodolo. Simon went with the Yankees turn last time. He went with the Reds turn this time, and
he likes a theme.
Pretty fun turn. I probably would have looked at Lodolo here if he was still available, but he is not. You know what? I'm just going to go ahead, 2-catcher league. I'm going to fill both the catcher spots. I'm going to go with Che Langoliers, and I'll take Salvador Perez here. The ageless wonder, Salvador Perez, with the fences coming in and Kaufman. The power is going to be there. RBI are going to be great. Hopefully the batting average could tick back up a little bit, but happy to get the 2 strong closers there. 2 catchers rather in a 2-catcher league. Vlad, you selected Nick Pivetta. Any concern lately about this arm fatigue that he's dealing with?
No, I think it's that time of year that a lot of them suffer. They're ramping back up. They're back in there. I'm pretty confident with Pivetta. I really love the gains he has made with reducing his walk rate over the last couple of years. I mean, he was the guy we wanted to see make it happen, and was a 5+ ERA guy for so many years. And we've seen it finally come to fruition. The home ballpark is just amazing. They're going to be a lot of games against the Diamondbacks, the Rockies at home, and in that park. So to me, he feels like a pretty solid SP3.
All right, after you selected Pivetta, I took Salvador Perez. There was Kevin Gausman, Nolan McLean, Sandy.
Tell me about it,
Stud.
Sandy Alcantara went to Chris, Willie Adames, and then Will Smith. And
I'd rather hear her say stud, Chris. I'm not going to lie.
That's too bad. I'm going to say it every time now.
Just kind of throws the vibe off. I don't know.
You know, were you not listening before the show when I said if something I do upsets you, I'm just going to keep doing it? You can't give me that information.
Oh, boy. Well, I was hoping Will Smith made it to me here in round 9, pick 10, 106 overall. He did not. Came too short. 2 picks short. So what am I going to do instead? Good question. I think I'm going to take Jose Altuve. Hope he helps a little with batting average. The idea here would be to slot him in the outfield, actually, because I already have a second baseman, Bryce Terang. I only have one outfielder, but the versatility doesn't hurt at that weak position. And we'll see if the other guy was considered. So Luke Keeschel goes right after Altuve. I started a little bit of a second base run here. Man, they pick quick on the end after me. I barely get time to comment.
We got to keep things moving. This has to be done by 5 o'clock.
We're fine. We're almost halfway done.
Can I do a quick airing of the grievances? Sure. There's no World Baseball Classic today, and there are no spring training games on MLB TV right now. This should be illegal.
Everything is done?
No, there's 3 4 o'clock games, and none of them are on TV.
Oh, jeez.
Ridiculous.
Are we not good enough for you, Chris?
I just like to have, it's comforting. I like to have my comfort baseball on in the background.
Yeah.
While I'm doing 3 other things.
There's nothing else going on. Everyone's got to come watch the mock draft.
That's the only thing people can watch.
That's the only thing. Kyle Stowers is the next pick. He's dealing with the hamstring, but it sounds like he could return this weekend. Jeremy Pena, by the way, went at pick 108 here, and he has the fractured finger. He'll be reevaluated in about like 10 days from now. So actually less than that. I think it's like 7 days now at this point, and we'll see if he's ready for opening day. Scott, you are back up. Your last pick was Altuve. We are in round 10.
Yeah. So I was thinking about Raisel Iglesias with my last pick. I don't have a closer yet. I'm thinking about Raisel Iglesias here too. But I actually still see a handful of save sources that I feel pretty good about. And Raisel Iglesias has some question marks with the Braves having signed Robert Suarez. He now becomes arguably the top setup man in the game. So instead, I'm going to be careful not to blow my starting pitcher advantages that I built early and take a young stud that I'm very excited about. Cam Schlittler of the New York Yankees. Your New York Yankees, Frank.
How could you do this, Scott?
Doubling the pain for you.
Yep. Cam Schlittler, by the way, was dealing with the mid-back tightness earlier in spring, but he's made 2 starts. He made another start yesterday. He looked absolutely filthy.
He looks
6 strikeouts. Yeah. He's averaging like 99 on the fastball. That cutter velocity has been
cutter's up like 3.
Yeah. Look, I do worry about the injuries, but man, the talent is pretty tantalizing there with Cam Schlittler.
There was an interesting quote I saw where he might not be throwing a changeup right now, but part of that is because he's actually throwing 2 different cutters, is what he said. He's got the like 95, 94 mile an hour one, and he's got the slower one that he threw last year. And so I think those are going to be his primary way of attacking lefties. I know Nick Pollock loves him. When he was on the show the other day, he has him as a top 25 starting pitcher. The Yankees didn't really mess with his workload last year either. He was throwing 90-plus pitches pretty regularly. So there's a lot to like about Cam Schlittler right now, I think.
All right, after Cam, we got Ozzy Albies, Raisel Iglesias, Ivan Herrera, And Chris, your backup.
I should have taken Lukeisha with my last pick. I thought he might make it. I didn't. That's a bummer.
Flew too close to the sun, Icarus.
Yeah, I often do. Boy, I really don't know what I want to do right now. My top player is a catcher, but I don't think I want to do that. My second best player is a shortstop. I don't want to do that. I think I'm going to take a guy I don't really like very much, which is always a good way to start a sentence during a draft.
You don't get through a whole draft without taking some guys you don't like.
Yeah, Alex Bregman at 115 is probably fine. We have our concerns, but that's okay.
Third base is pretty depleted at this point. So I was looking at him myself as well. So
it's pretty much right at ADP, maybe even slightly behind ADP.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I do have him as a bust. Alex Bregman going to Wrigley. He has always had the benefit of playing in parks that favor his pull tendencies. He's actually not a guy that impacts the ball very hard for as many home runs as he's hit in his career. And opinions are divided on this. I know StatCast shows his home run output should be fine at Wrigley. I just think StatCast isn't totally accounting for all the quirks of that venue and just how much deeper it is in the corners, the deepest park in the corners by far. And then the wind effects. So often the wind is blowing in, particularly in recent years. So I think we could see a career worst year for Bregman, but still given how weak third base is and, we're 115 picks in, I think it's, even as somebody who doesn't like Bregman in that scenario, I think it's fine to take him here.
After Bregman, we got Brandon Lau, Ryan Helsley. I selected Emmett Sheehan. I was looking at Vlad to see if he would react when I took Emmett Sheehan. Huh, Vlad?
I did inside. I very much did inside.
He's got a poker face.
Yeah. You're on the clock, Vlad. What are you looking at?
See, I need to shore up my offense. I'm going to go with Luis Robert Jr., who I really like to have a new fresh start with the Mets.
That is a fresh take for this podcast. We are not the most bullish on Luis Robert here. So what makes you so bullish?
So I feel like he's been essentially in this bad dream for the last few years, having 5 managers in the last 5 years, 6 if you count Grady Sizemore there as an interim. And he's been hurt for all these years as well. And so just being around a group of, and losing 3 straight seasons of 100 games, the talent's been there. We've seen him hit for 38 home runs. We saw the speed in the last couple of months of the year of last season before he got hurt. And he's going to play because he's good defensively. And you get him around these veterans like Juan Soto, Lindor, Freddie Peralta, and I think you're going to see a little bit of change in him. So big on Robert Jr.
Very positive reports out of camp. He made his spring debut today. He had 2 batted balls over 100 miles an hour.
Nice.
One of them was a single, one of them was a ground out. But the reports about his playing shape have been very positive so far, at least. We haven't seen it in action yet, but that's good. One bad thing out of that game, Scott, I'm sorry, Sean Manaea's velocity is way down. I think he maxed at like 90 miles an hour today.
Yeah.
It's been a struggle, it seems.
Yeah, that's in theory. We were talking about this before we started recording. I am going to put out a Deep Sleepers, my yearly Deep Sleepers article on Friday. I have 40 guys. I comment on all of them briefly, just casting a wide net, looking for upside in the deepest places. I was tempted to put both Bailey Ober and Sean Manaea on there, and I may still, because it's not all about how their velocity looks this spring, but I could make a much more compelling case if their velocity was at least holding steady, given that they're both coming off disappointing years. I don't know. They're on the bubble for my 40 Deep Sleepers.
All right, at the turn after Vlad selected Luis Robert, we got Teoscar Hernandez and Brandon Woodruff. Vlad, you selected Spencer Strider. I took Joe Adell, needed a second outfielder. I did not realize I only had 1 outfielder at this point in the draft. Then Brandon Nimmo and Jacob Wilson. But Vlad, let's go back to your pick here on Spencer Strider. I mean, much like your Luis Robert pick, we are pretty much down across the board, all 3 of us here on Spencer Strider. And his velocity has ticked back up a little bit the last 2 starts, but he's still not getting whiffs on his fastball. So where are you at on Spencer Strider? What are the, not chances that he gets back to the pitcher he was before, but I don't know, like 75, 80% of the pitcher that he was before?
Yeah, that's essentially what I'm hoping for when I click on him here. I think there was a time in draft season when he was going in the 80s and 90s, and we just didn't know what to expect, and people were very polarized on him. I think if he's going around here, if he's available here as like my SP4, I think it's a stab worth taking. And if I am going to get 75, 80%, it'll be great. And granted, you'll never get that season anything similar to what he had, of course. But you saw the DeGrom approach, and I know it's not apples for apples here, but where kind of lowered his velocity intentionally. I don't think that's what Strider's doing, but I think there's some element to that, and I think he'll find himself. So I think everything will kind of bounce back up. I don't think it'll be a smooth ride. I think there'll be some bumps along the road, but willing to go on the journey with him. The
slider's still great. I mean, he still gets like. Even at, I think it's been more like 83, 84 rather than 86, 87 as it was at its peak. It still was one of the best swing and miss pitches in baseball last year. It's just, can he get that fastball to average again? It was an elite pitch for a while, That's the argument I've made for Chase Burns all offseason is like, it's hard to be a two-pitch pitcher and succeed at the major league level. If both pitches are 70 grade pitches, then you're Spencer Strider or Hunter Green, and you can do it. Right now, it's more like Spencer Strider maybe has a 65 slider and a 50 fastball. So it's a lot harder to do there. But I really hope I'm wrong. That is like the player I hope I'm most wrong about this year, because Spencer Strider has best was so much fun.
Mm-hmm. Catching people up on picks here, going back to round 11, there was Jacob Wilson, Trevor Story, Shane O'Mac.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
That is Shane McClanahan, 127th overall. That is much higher than we're used to seeing him go. Bubba Chandler, Jacob Marcy, Jeff Hoffman went to Scott, then Lawrence Butler and Yainer Diaz to finish out round 11. Into round 12, some of those closers starting to go. Daniel Palencia, Jacob Mizurowski, The Miz, Josh Hader to Scott, Kazuma Okamoto. It's pretty high too, 136th. And then Adley Rutschman. But Scott, you went with the double dip here at closer.
Yeah, so I felt like I was at risk of flying too close to the sun myself at relief pitcher, having passed up Raisel Iglesias last time. But this is exactly who I had in mind, Jeff Hoffman, hoping he would come back to me. I think he's in for a big bounce back season. He thinks he identified the home run issue he had last year, overemphasizing his fastball. Plans to emphasize the slider closer to how he was in Philadelphia when he was a dominant reliever. And there was still plenty to like about Hoffman's performance as the Blue Jays closer last year. Just has to deal with that home run issue, and I think he will. And then getting Josh Hader, I think, is a nice injury tag value here. Below ADP, even by NFBC standards, he is going to begin the year on the IL, but he's already throwing off a bullpen. I don't think Hader's going to be out for long, and of course, he's a stud closer when he's healthy. There's only one other closer left that I feel somewhat confident about on the whole draft board. So I felt like doubling up here made sense for me, even though it meant passing up on Adley Rutschman, who went a couple picks later. I don't have a catcher yet. That's making me a little nervous. Oh, you took him actually, the other closer, Emilio Pagan, Frank. You took him here 7 picks later. So I guess you can run through the picks and talk about that.
Yep. So again, after Scott selected Hader, there was Kazuma Okamoto, which again, that's higher than we're used to seeing, but he is on the rise a little bit.
We do like him. This is probably where he should be going. We just like getting him at that extreme discount.
Yep. Adley Rutschman, Xavier Edwards, Pete Fairbanks went to Chris. Then Connor Griffin at 140. Gavin Williams, I selected Emilio Pagan. And Vlad, you took Matt McLain. So man, some really fun picks in this range. McLain having the huge spring. He is using a longer bat. He's changed his batting stance, and it seems like you are buying in here.
Yeah, I swear I'm not just a spring training hype helium buyer. No, I do feel like he's been undervalued for most of draft season, and this is a guy that clearly disappointed us, going around 90-100 last year, and so you knew after last year the dip was going to be harsh. Him hitting 9th last season for a chunk of the year, missing being benched on occasion was also rough. The batting average, strikeouts, everything rough, but talented hitter, former first-round pick out of UCLA. The ballpark is in play. The lineup is nice. I think because Noelvi Marte can't hit lefties, you're going to see McLain hitting second in that lineup, hopefully against both lefties and righties. And like what I'm seeing. So The one thing I was going to say, I was trying to figure out on the grid who, exactly the team that on the turn is, so I could figure out if I needed to go second baseman or another position, and I couldn't figure it out.
So if you go to the roster grid and you go by draft order, then you can see it'll show like the teams that are right after you. If I'm explaining.
Oh, by draft order. Got it.
Draft
Okay.
order, yeah. So I mean, it is a good tool to use just to know what that team after you has. So it kind of influences your picks as well.
Mm-hmm.
After you selected Matt McLean at the turn, we got Yandy Diaz, Ian Happ, Francisco Alvarez. Chris, talk to us here about Connor Griffin at 140. There was a roster projection from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette that had Connor Griffin on the opening day roster, but those are just two beat writers that are speculating. But it still was interesting to see that.
It's informed speculation, if nothing else. I'm not necessarily saying they are reporting that Connor Griffin will make the team, but they would know better than I would what the chances are. They're there every day. They're talking to the managers and everything. I think there are some people who are acting like there's no chance he makes the team, and there are some people who are acting like it's guaranteed. It obviously isn't either one of those still. We're exactly 2 weeks away from opening day, so we're probably about 10 days from knowing for sure if Connor Griffin will be up. 140 is about where he's going right now, I think, in the month of, let me make sure that's the ADP. I don't have it open. Okay, that's fine. He's been going around 140 in the month of March. I think that's climbing a lot. It's probably fine, I think, because I don't think he's going to be down long. Even if he's not starting the season in the majors, it'll be by May, I think, or at least sometime in May. And he has a chance to absolutely be worth this pick, even if he misses the first month of the season. It's tough. It's tough to swallow that from a 12th round pick not getting anything, but I think he can absolutely be worth this price just because, I think he'll be a bad hitter. You know, Bobby Witt Jr. was like a 90 WRC plus his rookie season. Bobby Witt was also a top 50 player in fantasy that year because he stole 40 bases or 50 bases maybe. Connor Griffin, it's going to be tough to steal 50 bases. It's tough for anybody to steal 50 bases. He stole 65 in the minors last year. This guy might be the kind of base runner where if he's just a non-disaster as a hitter, he might be a must-start fantasy player no matter what.
All right, catch people up here. After Vlad selected Francisco Alvarez, I took Ryan Pepio. Let's go, Pep boys. After that, there was Trevor McGill, Chris Bubich, Carlos Estevez, and Mike Trout. Before we move any further, we have 650 people watching us live on YouTube right now, so we appreciate all of you being here. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that as well. I believe we have right around 200 likes, so a lot of people here watching. You haven't liked the video yet, so hook us up. We do appreciate that. And big thanks to the listeners that are in this mock draft with us. It's gone very smoothly. We appreciate you helping us out with this as well.
So I had a reaction there. I don't know if people heard Chris Bubich at 149. I've been joking that I just don't believe his ADP. Even over the last week on NFBC, nearly 60 drafts, he's been going 200th overall. He never comes close to that in our drafts. I love Chris Bubich as a sleeper. I never get to take him.
That's because everybody who we're drafting with listens to the show.
I guess so. I guess
I've got him like 135th. So
you don't think the people doing the NFBC drafts putting big dollars down listen to us though? I don't.
I don't know about that.
Maybe not.
I do.
But
thank you, Vlad.
Yeah.
Then they do.
Like Bubich he fulfilled the upside last year. He was an ace for the time he was healthy, missed the last couple months with an injury, but, looks to be at full strength this spring. I think he's going to pick up where he left off and be a dominant pitcher. To get him as late as 200 would be awesome. Never happens. I'm going to go with a guy here in round 13. I almost took him with the last picks when I took the pair of closers. Dansby Swanson is my middle infielder. Just a great compiler in home runs, stolen bases, runs, RBI. It's going to be 20-20, 80-80. And that is so valuable at this point in a roto draft. Not a help in batting average, but not a hurt in batting average either. I think Dansby Swanson is just a really safe guy to plug in and just not have any concerns about.
By the way, I do have to lodge a complaint about Vlad's last pick.
What is that?
Because
Oh.
Francisco Alvarez is my favorite catcher that I can usually wait on. I think he should be going right around where you took him. I have him ranked right around 150, and he usually goes 30 picks later, and I think he's going to have a monster season. He went down to AAA. He changed his batting stance. He was a guy I had forgotten. He broke his hamate bone last spring. Had a delayed start to the season. But he went down to AAA. He changed his batting stance up. He hit like 12 homers in 24 games or something on his AAA stint. Came back up to the majors, had a 940 OPS after he came back. He's having a good spring. He hit a ball like 440 feet to dead center on Tuesday, I believe. I just think Francisco Alvarez is going to be an absolute monster this year. So I really hated that pick. Good job.
I waved my Dikembe Mutombo finger.
Yeah,
My apologies.
After Scott selected Dansby Swanson, Matt Chapman. So my third baseman will officially be Crap. Thank you for that. Jack Caglione at 156, another name who's on the rise. He's having himself a big spring. Tatsuya Imai to kick off round 14. Kenley Jansen, Samuel Basayo to Scott, and then Jonathan Aranda. So for those watching, you might have seen I was deliberating over which pick to make. When I did, I took Ryan Pepiot. I was debating him or Kenley Jansen. Jansen as my RP2 or Pepiot as my SP4. I think there are a few other lower end closers that have the job that I can grab a little bit later on, but was playing a little bit chicken there to see if Kenley Jansen would make it back. He will not. Jonathan Aranda goes, Taylor Ward, and Griffin Jacks at 162.
I want to point out, remember earlier, I believe it was round 6, or was it even round 5? I took Josh Naylor as my second first baseman, so filling my corner infield spot. And I talked about how there were some high upside guys I liked later at that position, but they tend to be pushed up in drafts, and they tend to go in quick succession, so it's easy to miss out on them. Now would have been a perfect time to take one. Jonathan Aranda went right after my pick. He went 160th overall. Sal Stewart, just for the benefit of the audience, is the other one I'm thinking about here.
I'm one pick away. My goodness.
Notice I don't. I'm saying it as somebody who doesn't feel like he could take him. But you know what, Samuel Basayo.
Come on, Scott.
Sorry, Frank. It's for the benefit for the good of the show, as our friend Nando Defino liked to say. Sorry. I'm not sorry, but I'm sorry. But I'm not.
We love to see it.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Shout out Nando, one of the best dudes in the industry. Love Nando.
One of the OGs.
Everybody loves Nando.
Yeah.
Every time
Nando loves everybody.
Every time I go to any event in the fantasy sports world, I just find Nando and hold on to his arm because I know he will just introduce me to every single person, no matter who they are. So it's always a good reference to have for that.
Oh, geez. That was right in the heart. All right. I've got to figure out how to recover here. I'm going to go ahead and take Royce Lewis as my starting third baseman. What could go wrong with Royce Lewis?
That does feel like a big downgrade, right? Sal Stewart to Royce Lewis is your.
I love Sal Stewart, but I like Royce Lewis this year. It's a little bit earlier than where he typically goes, but I need a third baseman. He's had an okay spring. The batting average is down, but I like the fact that he's still running. He ran a lot in the final 2 months of the season. He's already got like 2 or 3 steals this spring. So he was dealing with the side injury, but he seems to be past that. He's been playing in games. So I know he's probably going to be hurt at some point, but I need a third baseman, and I still think he has upside. So.
And I know he did a lot of work on his mechanics this offseason. Of course, we've seen him be a good hitter before. It's just been a couple years since then. I'd like to see a little, he spent so much of the spring injured already that we haven't gotten to see a ton of evidence. And it's a small sample regardless. But I don't think it's unrealistic to have hopes for Lewis. It's just a lot of hope behind it as opposed to tangible reasons.
You know what I'm running into at this point in the draft? I like the pitchers available so much more than the hitters.
Yeah.
It's a real problem right now because I do have 3 pitcher spots left to fill and 6 hitter spots left to fill. And I just, like Carlos Estevez, sheep wouldn't be the right word because everybody's running away from him, but maybe lemming because I might be jumping off a cliff with Carlos Estevez. But He's a closer. He had 40 saves last year. So hopefully he can still be good, right?
I want to comment on your last pick, Chris, at 163 in round 14, Trey Savage. Because I mean, my draft board said to take him when I took Basayo at my last pick, and I only have 3 starting pitchers right now. And I came really close to pulling the trigger, but I don't like the reports we're hearing out of Toronto right now about his usage to start the year. At first, they were saying, 3 to 4 inning starts for a while to limit his innings, which aren't going to be that useful in fantasy. Don't know how long that's going to go on. But I'm starting to wonder if they keep him in extended spring training or even working out of the bullpen early on as a way to limit his workload now that they brought in Max Scherzer and they seem to be ramping up Scherzer in earnest.
Might be a speed bump there already.
Oh, what happened?
Not with Scherzer, but Jose Barrios has an elbow injury.
Oh, okay. Well, that helps. Maybe I should have taken you Savage then.
Well, I think for me, it's just, we talked about this when Nick was on the show. I think, Scott, was after your internet went down, but I think you have to understand what kind of player you are. And I understand that I'm a pretty stubborn fantasy player, often to my detriment. I will not move off of players when I should, but that means I know there's no way I'm dropping Trey Savage, no matter how frustrating it gets in April. He's going to be on my team no matter what. And so I just kind of think by May 1st, I'm probably going to be really happy I have Trey Savage on my team. And so I just have to put up with a couple of weeks of discomfort, and I should be able to get through it. So that's the way I'm looking at it, but that might be an overly optistic view.
Take that, Scott. That's what you get for revealing my Sal Stewart pick. I saw you get upset when Carter Jensen got
Jensen, Dalton Varsho. I was hoping that would be my next pair of picks.
I gotta move Jensen up,
and now I get neither of them. So that was unfortunate, and I have to scramble here.
I'm not drafting enough Carter Jensen these days.
We will let you scramble. Vlad, I want to go back to your picks for a second here. You took Drew Rasmussen and Wilson Contreras, who might be like kind of boring picks, but seem solid. I mean, Rasmussen, it's always good ratios, probably around 150, 160 innings. And Contreras, I mean, I love that bat in Fenway.
Yeah, I love Contreras. Should be the cleanup hitter there in Boston. Again, this is a guy that he's in his 30s. He hasn't had a season of 600 plus plate appearances ever. But now it'll be his second season not having to catch. And it's a very good offense. I think he's going to drive in a ton of batters. I think he's going to get your 25. If he stays healthy, maybe gets those 600 plate appearances, maybe 30 plus home runs. So nice little there are a lot of risks, I feel like, with the corner infielders as we go deeper down the board, whether it be batting average or lineup placement and whatnot. So felt like a solid pick for me. And then Drew Rasmussen, I mean, the guy just doesn't give up runs. It's a career ERA under 3 and moving back to the trop. So I'm a big fan.
All right, after you selected Contreras, I took Shota Imanaga, usually as my SP4, get him as my SP5 here. Always good whip help. Dalton Varsho, Dennis Santana, JJ Weatherholt went to Chris. There was Carter Jensen, Brian Reynolds, Robbie Ray, Michael King to Scott, Colson Montgomery, Blake Snell. We are now into round 16, Dylan Cruz and Mackenzie Gore. Scott, we'll come back to you on your pick. Chris, I want to ask you about JJ Weatherholt here, 174, a little bit higher than ADP, but starting to feel like he's just going to be up on opening day, and he's looked really good.
I think it's all but guaranteed. I've been talking about, I think McGonigal and Griffin are basically coin flips to be on the opening day roster at this point. I think JJ Weatherholt is like a 20-sided die that's weighted on 19 of the sides. I don't know if that's actually how it works, but I think it's all but certain he's going to be on the team. He's having a nice spring. Everybody's been talking about him since they broke camp. When they arrived, there was no real suggestion that he wasn't going to be their starting second baseman, and that's what it was. I have that second base spot open. It is still technically open, but as you're drafting, keep in mind, Bo Bichette's going to get third base eligibility. JJ Weatherholt's going to get second base eligibility very early on. There are plenty of guys who will get eligibility as the season goes on, but those are two of the bigger ones who just, they're going to have that eligibility by, I don't know, the Wednesday of week 2, probably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When you were discussing your 19-sided die or whatever you said, I felt like Anchorman when he's like, what did you just say? Like I always go with that gif. It's a great one. I no idea what you're saying, Chris, but I'm sure. Let's catch people up. Scott selected Spencer Torkelson, then Andy Pajes, Marcus Semien, Addison Barger. Chris, you get Dalen Lyle, someone we've been talking a lot about as well.
Yeah. Really
After I made the Torkelson pick, I was thinking, I probably should have gone Dalen Lyle there.
Really, really good price on Andy Pajes, by the way. I'm not an Andy Pajes believer, but yeah, 185. He was my top ranked player for several rounds, so that's a pretty good buy.
And someone I debated taking last pick is Brenton Doyle. Do like him a little bit as a bounce back here. My team definitely could use some speed. Some questions about whether or not he's actually a good hitter. I think 2 years ago is probably the career year for Brenton Doyle, but if he can hit, 240 and, give me 15 to 20 homers, 25 to 30 steals, I think that's all within the range of outcomes there for Brenton Doyle. I
got to say, these drafters are doing a pretty good job. This has, the players everybody's excited about, the breakouts, the sleepers, they are getting pushed up in this draft so that you can't get them close to ADP. And yet nobody I want is sliding because of that. Like I'm not seeing any obvious values in response to those players being pushed up. So it's been,
well, that's just because you didn't want to take Andy Pajes.
Yeah, I don't like Andy. I do prefer Spencer Torkelson to Andy Pajes straight up, especially in a build where I think power is what I need most. So I did not want to take Pajes, but if you, that's what I mean though. Like I don't think I just have Pajes on my bust list. I think you have him as a bust, Chris. He was somebody who fell, but he's not like we're not excited to take him.
Yeah.
And sometimes you do just take that guy. I've often advocated for that, but I would rather the players who fall be ones that I'm thrilled to take. Like, wow, I can't believe you let me get this guy 30 spots below ADP, and that's not happening.
After I selected Brenton Doyle, Vlad, you took Shane Baz. Then at the turn, we got Brian Abreu and Munetaka Murakami. That's a pretty fun turn. Ezekiel Tovar, back to you, Vlad. I took Sir Anthony Dominguez as my second closer. Then Ramon Laureano and Noelvi Marte. We'll talk about Marte in a second. He fell pretty far in this draft. But Vlad, you take Shane Baz, who's now with Baltimore, and Ezekiel Tovar. Was Tovar your starting shortstop, or no? He was your middle infielder, right?
Yes, yeah. So I have Lindor there, and Tovar is not. He's a profile. His profile is not something I'm usually into. He's it's an absolute mess. I know he's made some progressions there in the off season and some improvements. And he's I forgot the word you guys use, but I'd say accumulator. He's just just going to rack up the stats. Compiler, yeah. And he's going to hit first or second. It's going to get you a little bit of everything and
play every day for sure.
Play every day.
Yeah. Catching people up, I took Dominguez. There was Laureano, Noelvi Marte again, 197. Jorge Polanco, Max Muncy of the Dodgers, Joe Musgrove, Kate Horton, and Sonny Gray to Scott.
This is what I was talking about.
Yeah, those.
I have Joe Musgrove.
Are so good.
I have Joe Musgrove ahead of Sonny Gray, and ADP shows that's ridiculous. ADP Musgrove is going 90 spots behind Sonny Gray, but here's Joe Musgrove goes ahead of Sonny Gray, just like I have it. So I took Sonny Gray, and I'm getting him about 80 spots below ADP, so I'm not going to complain about it. And my biggest concerns for him are the ratios, and obviously I have a good cushion there with Skubal and Skeens at the top of the draft, but I would have rather had Musgrove.
We are into round 18. We got Zach Wheeler and Luis Castillo. So two names that last much later than usual. Noelvi Marte at 197, which I mentioned earlier. Zach Wheeler here at 205. I think the Wheeler thing is kind of like, again, we're drafting with people that listen to the podcast, and, we're a little bit more skeptical of Zach Wheeler and his return. But, Vlad, what do you think about those two falling here? Marte, it feels like the playing time is not guaranteed there. Apparently, he's looked really bad defensively in the outfield this spring. And then Zach Wheeler here at 205. Could be back in April, but not a guarantee. And we're not even sure what he's going to look like when he returns. So any thoughts here on the fall of both Noelvi Marte and Zach Wheeler.
Yeah, I know Noelvi Marte is not somebody I usually draft, but at a point when you start getting past 200, it's got to do the 1v1 comparisons versus the players that are there at the on the board. He is a tough click for me. And with Zach Wheeler, listen, I was going to ask you guys what the IL rules are here. That's the only reason I didn't draft him. But I think he'll be back in May. I think he's going to be a top 12 fantasy pitcher this year. And I'm pretty optimistic, but I guess I'm usually pretty optimistic about most things in life.
Yeah, we usually do IL spots in CBS leagues.
Let's just assume there's like 3 to 5 IL spots in this league. Yeah.
So can we roll it back? And I can take
but that is a significant difference when you're talking about taking, Garrett Cole, Carlos Rodon, Josh Hader that's why I'm actually pretty surprised in a lot of these NFBC drafts where Zach Wheeler's going pretty close to the top 100. And that's a deep league with no IL spots, but it's also overall contests where, man, if Zach Wheeler's 90% of what he was last year, that's a steal if he's back by mid-April, which that sounds like the plan.
That is kind of the fallacy of following NFBC ADP so closely is those are a lot of them play in multiple leagues and they're just trying to win the overall contest with one. So they are not that concerned with downside risk. And obviously there's a lot of downside risk for Zach Wheeler, but what does the upside look like? Upside is from the time he returns, he's the best pitcher in fantasy, perhaps, or at least the fourth best. And so from that perspective, okay, if he busts, that's fine. I've got, 8 other entries that I could try to win with, 12 other entries. But if you're the average fantasy player, you're in 1 or 2 leagues and it's like, well, I don't want to stake my whole season to Zach Wheeler. And then I'm just miserable if he comes back and he's not the same.
There's definitely game theory involved in a lot of what we're talking about. Cause when you're playing for an overall prize, you do need to hit on some real upside to have a chance. Now that's not to say that every pick you make should be risky. A lot of the really good high stakes players avoid risk pretty judiciously. But yeah, it's just kind of always true. It's, we talk a lot less about DFS now than we used to, but there was a little bit of that in the DFS tournament talk where it's like, yeah, you kind of need to be different. You need to be weird. You need to take some chances to have a chance to stand out as well. Because you also, you kind of need some different players to hit for your team to win. Because if there's guys who are super popular, a lot of people are going to have those guys already.
Well, we actually have a high stakes player here, so
why don't we just ask Vlad?
Philosophizing on it.
Vlad, we'll let you make your pick. I'll catch people up, and then we'll get back to you on that.
I'll back up.
Going back to, do you want me to back that out?
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
Just building my Red Sox stack. And by the way, there's another former Yankee. Almost forgot about it because he was with Milwaukee. Who I haven't heard him say yet that he hates the Yankees, but Red Sox now.
It's such a popular thing to do, huh? Caleb Durbin was the pick there for Vlad. I will go ahead and make my pick here. I think I need a little bit more batting average, some speed. I will take Sal Frelick as my 4th outfielder. Going back to round 18, again, there was Wheeler at the top there at 205. Luis Castillo, Ranger Suarez went to Scott. We got JT Realmuto, Carlos Rodon, Tanner Bybee, Kyle Manzardo to Chris. Then Alec Burleson, Bryson Stott. I took Kevin McGonigal at 214 as my middle infielder. Ryan Walker to Vlad, Brendan Donovan. Then into round 19, Garrett Cole, Caleb Durbin to Vlad, who I was looking at as well. I think that's a really good pick. Sal Frelick, Giancarlo Stanton, Riley O'Brien, Edward Cabrera, Shane Bieber, Parker Messick. So let's go back to
follow all that.
Yeah, there's a lot of picks. Vlad, we'll go back to you. What do you think about the, high stakes and diversifying and kind of that idea that, you could take more risks on if you have like a lot of different teams and just the ability to diversify in that way?
Yeah, I mean, there are obviously different approaches. And if you guys remember, an absolute legend in Casey Chai does not play in the NFBC anymore. But when he goes, when he drafts and he does volume drafts, used to play all the high stakes stuff, when he wins, it's everything, right? And we've seen Phil Dussault do the same thing. Like a lot of times they just are going in on their plan and their guys and they're executing it. Other people that are volume drafters, they diversify. I think it's much better to diversify in the early rounds, of course. If you have, 3 number 1 picks and you're doing 3 main events, you're going to want to mix in a judge there and, maybe something else. So, and then with someone like Wheeler, of course, if you get somebody like that as your number 3 and it pans out, it's great. Other times, maybe there could be delays and you're just basically soaking up a bench spot. You only have 7 bench spots in NFBC. And then what if you want to take someone else later? Someone else gets hurt or you've got somebody waiting in the wings in the minors. All of a sudden, you don't have roster flexibility to get things done. So very many approaches. The one thing I'll say is a lot of the best players in the main event in the NFBC, they are not going after the hype guys. Usually you won't see like a Connor Griffin on their team in the 130s. They're drafting the Brian Reynoldses and the Ezekiel Tovars and somehow getting it done. I look at their teams sometimes when they draft. I'm like, what is this? Here I am drafting my flashy guys, and there they go to first place in the league.
I mean, we had playing on the name Mike Mager, who won the
colleague.
auction championship last year. Great player. His most expensive hitter was Yordan Alvarez, I think.
Yep.
And his most expensive pitcher was Blake Snell.
I think he had Tarek Skubal too.
Yeah, I mean, there are ways, and I think he had Kyle Rowley on that team. Like but Kyle Rowley was not a sexy pick last year. George Springer, it's like a decade since anybody's really wanted to draft George Springer. So, yeah, you gotta hit on some unsexy picks who are going to play a lot. That's also a big part in these a 15-team league, especially guys who are just in the lineup every day. Like Ezekiel Tovar is a good example of a guy who just in a 12-team league, maybe you look at it and say, he's kind of a boring pick. But in a 15-team league, the dude's going to hit leadoff for second every single day for the Rockies, who are a bad team but play at Coors Field still.
Yeah. Catching people up here. I'm not going to read off every pick, but Scott selected Willie Abreu. We got Robert Garcia, Aaron Nola. We're into round 20. There's Justin Crawford, Jordan Westberg, stash him on the IL. Scott took Austin Wells. Abner Uribe, I think that's a great pick. I was looking at taking him if he fell even further. That was at 232. Grayson Rodriguez, Gleyber Torres. Chris, you selected D-backs opening day starter Zach Gallen.
Talk about an unsexy pick, but that's a guy who, as
long
as he stays
been
healthy,
up this spring, and he's talked a lot about that he has a lot to prove this year to try and earn that contract that he wants. So.
Yep, and he is a free agent again, so that and he won't be tagged with the draft pick compensation this time. So, market should be better for him if he has a good year. And he was more useful in the second half than he was in the first last year. So, I think we already started to see him figure it out. But the velocity being up is a good sign. I think Zach Gallen is a fine pick outside of the top 225, certainly.
I am in a bad state in the outfield here, which happens too often to me. I think what happens, like anytime I have a draft where I don't take an outfielder in round 1 or 2, it's just in a 5 outfielder league like this, it's hard to come up with 3 good outfielders in that scenario. I have 2. One of them is Jose Altuve. But now Wilyer Abreu was my 3rd, and I wasn't thrilled with that. I'm probably going to take some big stabs here with my final 2 outfield spot, just chasing upside rather than settling for somebody boring, which I think is more justifiable in a 12-teamer than a 15-teamer. But it's not ideal. Don't neglect the outfield, kids.
Scott, what are the chances that we could finish 3 rounds in 10 minutes?
Good. We will.
All right. I hope so. Vlad, you selected Adolis Garcia, and I feel like I've heard you talk about him quite a bit this offseason. So tell us what you like about a potential Adolis Garcia bounce back, and your next pick here, Jordan Beck, who is over there with the Rockies as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, Adolis Garcia, I'm all right with him at the price and just potentially hitting cleanup in that lineup behind some strong guys. I do like a change of scenery a lot for players. I know it's been a little bit messy there in the Texas clubhouse, and things are changing. Maybe the vibes will get better. But Adolis moving on to Philly, I think it's a good spot for him. I think batting average could suffer, but you might get a few stolen bases. Hopefully, we'll see the bat speed up. Jordan Beck is just a solid outfield 5 lineup filler with 2020 potential. Nothing too exciting.
All right. Catching people up.
Frank, you're the one holding us up, man.
I took
Taking
Merrill
30
Kelly.
seconds to make your pick.
My bad.
Come
my
on.
bad. I took Merrill Kelly. Merrill Kelly, who's dealing with the back, but he's supposed to make his debut this weekend. I've been drafting him all offseason as my SP5, SP6 in a lot of leagues. He's boring, but usually comes through at solid ratios. It's 8K per 9-ish. He pitches from
That was one of my big stabs, Owen Casey.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Canadian legend.
Give me that power.
The Rockets' red glare because he's a redhead. That's not the Canadian national anthem, but you know what I mean.
Doesn't make
He tends to get overshadowed in this rookie class, even though I think he's a shoe-in for a starting spot in the Marlins lineup.
There's some
Good
prospect
power.
fatigue there.
Of
I
the
think that's what
outfielders
it
we
is.
talk about that could be up on opening day, Owen Casey he doesn't get mentioned. I mean, we talk about maybe some flashier names like Carson Benj or Chase DeLauder, but
Well, Chase DeLauder went right afterward. That was another one of the stabs I was thinking of taking. So
I wonder
It
if
was really hard this spring, Chase DeLauder.
I wonder if Team Canada, there's a team named Team Canada in this draft, was getting ready to take Owen Casey, Chris.
I would hope so.
I better just take Carson Benj because I think that was the last of the three. There's one more. There's one more potential upside guy, but I'm going ahead and take Benj here, who I hope makes the Mets as their right fielder.
Would really like some more confirmation about that. I've seen very little out of Mets camp one way or the other on how that position battle
They have some good alternatives with Brett Beatty, who, of course, they'd like to get at bats, and also
they like Mike Tauchman.
Mike
apparently.
Tauchman, yeah, he's always been an underrated real life player. He's so good at getting on base.
Could we please save Mark Vientos? Can we get this man some playing time? I don't know if you guys like him or not, but I think
I still think that there's talent there. Like there's legit power, but it's hard to see how it works out right now because if Benj is up in right field and Brett Beatty is the strong side platoon at DH, then what is Vientos? Just a short side platoon DH at this point?
And the problem with that is he's not actually all that good against lefties. It feels like he should be. At the worst, it feels like this is a guy who should be able to crush lefties, and he just hasn't done that in his career. So it is a situation where I would very much like to see him on a different team, just to get a chance. But
oh, Scotty, you dog.
I got to get Mike Burrows somewhere. I think I was the first on the Mike Burrows bandwagon, and
I don't know if you were the first because Vlad and I were in a gladiator draft way back in like December, and he took Mike Burrows like right after he got acquired by the Astros. So Vlad,
there you go.
Are you excited about Burrows as well?
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. I'm not super excited on the 6-man rotation over there, but that's fine. What we saw from him out of Pittsburgh after thinking he was a potentially failed prospect, he looks really good. I think that rotation in general is going to surprise some people.
Well, I sniped Team Canada with my Owen Casey pick, as he said in the chat, so he gets me back by taking Cody Ponce, who
take all the Canadians, baby. Oh, he's not.
I like Ponce too.
For the Blue Jays,
and I like Painter at this cost anyway. I think he's a worthy gamble, Andrew Painter. So this is what always happens in the 12-team Roto leagues, where you have just 9 pitcher spots. I mean, maybe there's just too many good pitchers to roster. Now, if you're playing in a typical league, you'll have a bench, and maybe you grab some bench guys before you fill out your hitter lineup. That makes sense given the volatility at pitcher. But it sometimes feels like you can't go wrong at starting pitcher. Just in a league of this size, deeper leagues like 15-teamers, it thins out. But in 12-teamers, there's just so much upside to be found at all stages of the draft. Cody Ponce, Mike Burrows, Andrew Painter. I mean, you'd have to call him an upside guy, even though there are some questions about how his fastball is playing this spring. There's a lot to like here still at starting pitcher.
And there's an upside guy there with Jack Leiter as well, who you selected, Vlad.
Yes, just listen, a little bit of influence from guys like Jacob deGrom and Eovaldi and that Park. Hopefully reduces his walk rate a little bit. Obviously, very, very storied prospect. So I'm a fan. I hope it works out for Jack Leiter.
All right, we are into the final round here. Shane Smith, another pitcher with a good amount of upside there. Tyler Mahle was the pick before. Maybe not the sexiest pick, but pitching his home starts in San Francisco. And Nick Pollock was talking up Tyler Mahle the other day. So whenever Nick talks, we listen. I think
he's going to be useful. Yeah, I mean, at that home park, he's not. I think he finished with a sub-2 ERA last season in like 90 innings or whatever it was. He's not going to do that, but it's a very good home park. he's a decent pitcher. Like, he's not an ace, but he's pretty good. So I think Tyler Mahle is certainly someone, especially once we get a little closer to opening day and we see where he slots into the lineup. If the matchups are good, he's definitely on my late round flyer list for sure.
All right, and then Vlad, your last pick here is Logan O'Hoppe. So let's we'll wrap up this final round and take a quick look at your team here, Vlad, to see who you wound up with. If I can figure out how to maneuver this thing. Here we go. You have on your hitting side, you have Francisco Alvarez and Logan O'Hoppe, Pete Alonso, Matt McClain, Caleb Durbin, Francisco Lindor, Ezekiel Tovar, Wilson Contreras. And then in the outfield, you have Byron Buxton, Adolis Garcia, Luis Robert, Michael Harris, Jordan Beck, and Shohei Ohtani. What do you think about the way that the hitters came together for you?
Yeah, I think I have some batting average concerns. Probably lots of them. Michael Harris isn't, I don't think, gonna carry those guys, and the outfield does seem a little off, a little weak. But overall, needed O'Hoppe, I felt, to shore up the power a little bit. And got some stolen bases, a mix of everything, but batting average would probably be the issue.
On the pitching side, you have Nick Pivetta, Cole Reagans, Shane Baz, Drew Rasmussen, Spencer Strider, Jesus Luzardo, Jack Leiter, Mason Miller, and Ryan Walker. Is this pretty typical of you to go 7 starters, 2 relievers for your 9 pitcher spots?
Yes, of course. Yeah, with a bench, I definitely would have a couple more relievers and everything. But yeah, I'm not afraid to take even my first bench pitcher before I fill out all my hitters. So the pitchers I do like.
All right, we did it. We finished in time. Scott, you were right. We actually got through the entire draft here.
Never had a doubt.
Timing. And I hate to just rush everything through and kick people off, but we do have to keep things moving here. So, Vlad, thank you so much. I want to remind everyone, you are the head of fantasy baseball over at FTN. You are the host of their fantasy baseball podcast as well. Writer at Fangraphs, great high stakes player. Make sure to follow him on X at RotoGut. And Vlad, thanks again, man. We appreciate you hopping on.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you, guys.